Hi guys, welcome to video 4, and I almost said Halloween 4.
Wow.
October 4th. So in a previous video, we briefly talked about some of the haunted things that happened at our old house, and today's story takes place in that same house. And we were kind of piecing together in that other video that same thing most likely caused this entire incident. And if you have seen that video, you also know that I referenced to one of my friends who was a part of this story, and we weren't sure if she would be comfortable with us sharing this story on my platform. So I got a hold of her, I talked to her, and she said that we can tell the story. She never said I couldn't use her name, but
just out of respect, we're gonna use a different name.
So I'm gonna try my hardest. This is our 6th attempt because I've accidentally said her name.
So we're pretty much just probably gonna go with the name Stephanie.
Yeah.
Because it's just a random name.
It's the name that she thought of, and she's sticking with it. So she wrote on her phone Stephanie, and
because
it's just
she keeps saying the name. So our little you can't even see it. Our little cheat sheet over here, you get the gist.
Stephanie.
So she says the right name and not her friend's actual name.
So basically, this story takes place in October, and it was around Halloween. And I had Stephanie over for a little sleepover, and the three of us, meaning her, Ashley, and myself, we are just scary movie buddies. And it was a thing.
Every time we're all in the same house, we always watch scary movies.
It was a thing.
It was our go-to thing. For some reason, we were just never interested in watching anything else. That was just our thing.
Yeah, we had a goal to watch every single scary movie that Netflix had.
Which I don't think ever happened, but we got pretty close. We watched...
Yeah.
We were pretty picky, too.
We were making our way through. After a while, we just kind of got used to all of them. So things, they started to become a little boring. So we got really picky in the end, and then we took a large break after I moved.
Especially after this event that we're about to tell you happened.
Oh, yes.
I don't think we watched scary movies for
it was a
while after that.
It was a while. So basically what happened is that night we were in our living room and we watched a scary movie. And towards the end of the scary movie, I noticed that there was a black figure that moved across the Wii machine. And I didn't want to say anything because I thought that my mind was just playing tricks on me because we had just watched a scary movie. So I kept it to myself. The second movie, for whatever reason, just really got to the three of us. It actually scared the three of us. And we were just kind of taken back by it. And we at the end of it, we just kind of wanted a break. And we wanted to go to the bathroom and get some snacks. We wanted some nachos and some drinks or whatever.
And I'm not sure if she said this already, but we kind of had a buddy system. So every time we always get up in between to do all those things, we always go together.
Yeah, no matter what. If I go to the kitchen, they go to the kitchen.
Plus it also helps just because then, one person can get snacks, one person can get beverages, and one can reset up for the movie or
exactly
pick the movie, whatever,
all be there together. And so Stephanie went to the bathroom first. And then when she was done, I went in there. And when I was on my way into the kitchen after I was done, and Ashley had gone in there, she started talking about how she didn't really feel good. And so she was just going to sit down for a minute. And I had asked her if she still wanted nachos and stuff, and she was like, "Yeah, go ahead and make it, and I'll eat a little bit, but I just not right now because my stomach's upset." And when Ashley came out of the bathroom, she was starting to talk about how she was really thirsty and how she just didn't feel good, and she was a little
really dehydrated.
Yeah, dehydrated,
and she just didn't feel
normal. She felt off. And she didn't know why, and it was sudden thing. And so Ashley, she had been on an ice water kick where she filled the cup completely up with ice and then she used the fridge water to fill it up maybe like this much. And
And it
then,
would just be completely cold. Oh my god, it was the best thing
yeah,
ever.
like it was the perfect ratio between fridge water and the tap water. And 9 times out of 10, if it wasn't this much with the fridge water, it was this much and then this much with the tap. But she was doing her little water thing for Stephanie, and while she was getting the ice from the ice machine, she feels this phenomenon.
Yeah, so basically I was at the fridge and I just remember thinking like it's really weird because like half of my body right now feels like really hot and warm and the other half just feels like cold, like I have goosebumps.
And we're not talking like, oh, like my feet are cold and my head's hot. We're talking like the entire
This
left
side
side
of
of her
my
body.
like this side of my body was cold and this side of my body was warm.
Yeah.
And that's not a normal thing to feel. And so I remember, saying out loud like it's kind of weird because I feel like hot and cold at the same time.
And I was like, what do you mean? And she goes like,
Well, this side of my body
literally
is cold.
one foot is in a hot area and the other foot is in a cold area. And I was like, nuh-uh, no way. And she was like, well, come over here and feel this. But she was in the middle of getting ice, so I had to take over getting the ice for her. And when I went over there, I did not feel anything at all. I was like, what do you mean? I don't feel nothing. And she goes, oh, that's weird.
And I swore up and down, I know what I felt.
Yeah, she was
I
like,
knew
it was
I
like
felt
that.
it.
And she was like, you've got to believe me. And I was like, well, I don't feel it. Like, that's weird because, you moved and it's no longer here. And she came back over to see if she could feel it because she thought maybe I was in the wrong spot. And she was like, no, I don't feel it anymore either. And I don't remember what Stephanie was doing. I know that she was sitting down in the chair the whole time, and she had her right leg propped up on the chairs because we had 3 chairs lined up together against the wall because there was a wall that was separating. It was like a half wall that was separating the kitchen from the
living room.
The living room, I almost said dining room. And from that wall you can see straight down the hallway, and she was facing the hallway almost like her body was at a diagonal.
And we also mentioned this in like a previous video that we
yes,
filmed for her channel. If you look completely down that hallway, it's my room. And in my room, a lot of things has happened before.
a lot of paranormal
there's a whole video
things.
pretty much on that.
Yeah.
Partly on that.
So, Ashley and I are talking about how it was weird because she felt it, but then I went over there and I didn't feel it, and then she went back and she didn't feel it. And so, Stephanie was like, guys, can I have my water? And so I was like, yeah. So I walked over to, because she didn't want the fridge water, she wanted specifically the tap water. So I walked over to the sink to fill up the cup with water, and I felt it.
And I don't know if she had I don't really remember if she had just walked over there and in the middle of her filling the water up felt it, or if you filled the water up and then in the midst of turning around and handing the water to Stephanie you felt it.
So basically, the sink is here, I was here. And I walked over, and about halfway to the sink is when I felt it. Like, I didn't even make it to the sink before I could feel it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just kind of stopped in my tracks. I was like, oh my god, I can feel it.
I feel it.
I feel it. And they were like, what do you mean? What?
And I was
kind of
taken back too because I was just like, one, I didn't really realize that kind of thing can just move.
Yeah.
And I thought I must be imagining it because, I felt it at first and she didn't feel it. And so I was like, well, maybe it's just my head. Maybe I'm just imagining feeling it, and I'm not really.
She kind of had one of those moments where I had seen the thing pass in front of
the shadow,
and how I thought maybe it was just, my brain playing tricks on me because we watched a scary movie. She was having that same feeling. But then when I said that I felt it, she was like, oh my God.
Like, that's real.
Like, it's actually a thing because I'm not imagining it because you're feeling
and
it
I'm
now.
not the only one who felt it.
And so Ashley and I are just having this debate about how that generally means that there's an entity present, because when an evil spirit is around, it may be a ghost,
or even like just a spirit in general, like the temperature drops.
Yeah, the temperature is like wonky and everything, and 9 times out of 10 you get an area where the ground feels really warm and the air feels really warm, but then you get an area right next to it where it feels really cold. And so we were talking about that, and in the middle of us talking about it, Stephanie says, guys,
what is that?
What is that?
And like,
I'm facing the stove, and Ashley's standing in front of me, facing me on the other way. So we're both looking at each other. And Stephanie says that, and we both stop talking because that just kind of like threw me for a loop. Like, what do you mean? What is that? I'm literally telling you that I feel this phenomenon that she was feeling, and we're talking about how that means there's an entity here and present, and now you're telling me that? Why? What is going on? Ashley was so curious, and we both looked at her, and she points. Like, she lifts up her hand and she goes, what is that? Like, it's right there, it's looking at me, and I can see it, I see a face. And Ashley runs over towards her, and she's looking at it, and she can't see it.
I remember I had to move because at first I didn't see it.
She couldn't see it at all.
At first, there's like the chair, and then there's the table, and then on the other side of the table there's another chair that's against the wall, so you can see down that hallway.
There was like 3 chairs lined up together because we had the table pushed back.
Oh yeah.
And
well, either way, so
at the end of the hallway, she had like this nightstand that she had a bunch of stickers and stuff on, and Stephanie was pointing to that little arrangement, and Ashley went over there, and she had ducked down behind Stephanie to try to see it,
and I ultimately, like, I couldn't see it at first, and so I tried to move so maybe I could get, a better position and like see it better and like try to figure out what she was seeing.
Maybe she was just in the wrong spot.
I moved to behind the table on the other side, and I sat there and I was really looking for a second, and I still couldn't see it.
She couldn't see it, so I walked over there, and I was like, well, let me see if I can see it. And I'm standing in front of Stephanie, and I'm looking really hard in the general direction that she's talking about, and I see like a grayish black face just barely fading out in front of all of the stickers that she has on her nightstand or on the TV stand. And I said, I see it. And Ashley is like, you do? And I said, yeah, come here. And I make her stand in front of me so that her entire vision is not like distorted between, like Stephanie sitting in front of her or, whatever. And so I have her standing in front of me, and I lift up my hand, and I'm like, it's right there. And I'm pointing to it, and she finally sees it. So, obviously, we were all, like, pretty spooked at this point. Like, oh my God.
And especially it's because, like, that's the type of thing that, like, in movies, you're kind of like, okay, well, you know what to do because it's a movie. Yeah. But in real life, it's completely different. It's like, this is not supposed to happen in real life. What do I do right now? Like, what is this in front of me?
Yeah. Like, how do I get rid of it? How do I protect myself and the others around me?
Like, you see that type of thing in scary movies all the time. but in real life, you have no idea what to do, and it takes you completely off guard, and it's just something that's like,
You just kind of freeze.
What is happening
You're
right
thrown
now?
for a loop, and you're just shocked. And then it disappears, and none of us can find it. And Stephanie just really wants her water. She's really dehydrated. She's making it known how dizzy she is. She's making it known how her stomach is upset and how
lightheaded she is.
Yeah, she was like, I'm just so dehydrated. I want some water. And
we could see it because she started looking really, really pale.
Now let me tell you, she's mixed.
So she's not white.
Her dad is black and her mom is white. She's not light-skinned. She's lighter than most, but she's brown. Like, she is...
You can tell when you look at her.
Yeah, like, you can tell that she has what am I trying to say? Black. You can tell that she is half black. And her skin was almost as if she went from like milk chocolate to caramel. Because she wasn't white, but she was getting pale and she was sweating, like her face was sweating a little bit. And Ashley grabbed the cup and filled it with water to give it to her, and she was holding it out, and Stephanie was trying to move her head so that she can turn her body to grab the cup, and she couldn't move. And she was like, she started freaking out. Like
full blown, like,
she was starting
crying.
to cry. And she was like, oh my God, guys, help me. I can't move my head. And we're like, what do you mean you can't move your head? She was like, I mean, I cannot move my head. I need help moving my head. So she wanted both Ashley and I to go over to her, and she wanted us to grab her head and try to move it. And we physically couldn't move her head. When you are trying to do that with somebody who is faking it, you can feel them pushing on it because they have to resist the force of you trying to physically move them.
Especially when you stop, because you can kind of see their head, like,
yeah,
move back.
Like you're pushing with all your muscles to get them to not be able to move it. But then when they let go, because you're pushing so hard with your muscles, the force of them letting go moves your body. She didn't have that
any resistance.
She didn't have that muscle resistance. Like, she was forcing herself to do that. And when we let go, she didn't move at all. Like, she stayed in one spot the entire time. I physically could not push her. I could not pull on her. I could not move her at all. The only thing that we could visibly move or physically move was her hair. Everything else we couldn't move. And the moment we let go, she stayed in the same spot. And then she was getting really, really scared, so she, was starting to cry. And then she was like, I feel so lightheaded and so dizzy. And then she passed out. Like, she fell onto the floor.
Blown, like, she was literally on the chair 1 second, and the next second she was completely on the floor.
She was like, she face planted into the floor. Yeah. She was like, I just feel so lightheaded. Boom.
It literally happened in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Like, it was so unexpected when it happened. I think both Tot and I were just kind of taken back. We were like, what the hell just happened?
Just kind of like, we backed up.
Like, what do we do?
And yeah. I think we missed a part.
What part?
I think right after she was able to, right before she had mentioned that she felt really lightheaded and she was going to pass out, when she finally was able to move her body again, I'm Wicked. And so I have pentagrams.
No, that happened after.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because she sat up and just keep going. I'll tell you when it happened because I don't want to like fast forward into the story and get them confused. It didn't happen yet. Trust me, it didn't happen yet.
Okay. So she's laying on the ground, and she was passed out for what, 2 minutes maybe? 3?
I think it was longer, but I mean, in that type of situation, time kind of feels like it goes by slower.
Yeah.
So it honestly could have been 2 minutes. I don't know. She was passed out for like a minute, like a good.
We didn't know what to do. Like
it wasn't like, oh, I fell on the floor, I passed out, and then I got back up. Like it was, she laid there for a while. Is what it felt like.
And not only that, but she was in like a position that you wouldn't pass out in. If that makes sense. And I don't know, she was laying face down into the floor. And
if she was faking it, like, it's like the most uncomfortable position
that you could be
and
in.
to lay in that position for that long is just kind of like, there's no way that you can even breathe right now if you're faking that.
Exactly. And she wasn't trembling like she was forcing herself to stay in that position. She was stiff as a board, is what she was. And then, out of nowhere, in one swift motion, she's sitting up crisscross legged.
Crisscross applesauce.
Like, she did not take the time to push her body up.
It was like one motion.
Like,
one move.
One move, she was like this, and she went whoop.
Like, there was no, like, putting her hands out to push herself up. There was no, like, turning herself. It was one move.
Her feet were over here. Her head was over here. In one swift motion, she went whoop. There was no taking the time for her to sit up by pushing her body. There was no time for her to maneuver her legs around and sit crisscross applesauce. There was just no way. In one move, it was like whoop, and that was it. And she sat up so quick that all Ashley and I could do was sit on opposite sides of her and just stare at each other. We were like, what is going on? What is going on?
And at this point, it didn't...
Pause.
What?
So, I feel like we're at a very good spot here, and we only have about a minute left in recording time. So this story is going to be continued, but we are going to continue it on her channel. So, if you liked the story and would like to see more, please go check out the continuation of the story on her channel.
The part 2.
And do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys for October video number 5. Bye, guys.